Tóm tắt nội dung câu chuyện sau bằng tiếng Việt. What if the people you loved most, your sister, your best friends, walked out of a Chicago restaurant one night and simply vanished? 2 years later, the concrete beneath the city begins to whisper their story. Would you still believe in love or fear it? If you've ever known someone trapped in a toxic relationship, share your thoughts below and tell us where you're watching from. Your voice might be the one that keeps another heart safe tonight. The night began like a photograph of joy candles, champagne, and the soft hum of jazz spilling through the windows of Paradisa, a high-end restaurant tucked along Chicago's River North. 5 women laughed at the corner booth, their glasses clinking like small promises. Sophia Taylor was the brightest of them all, celebrating her 25th birthday with her lifelong friends, Chloe Ramirez, Meredith Brooks, Jenna Lewis, and Laurel Nguyen. To everyone watching, they were the picture of young success, confident, carefree, invincible. But beneath Sophia's radiant smile was a quiet tremor. She had decided that tonight would be her last night with Marcus Ashford. The charming real estate heir had turned possessive, tracking her calls, showing up uninvited at her office, twisting affection into control. He won't let you go easily, Chloe had whispered earlier that evening. Sophia only smiled, brushing it off. It's just dinner, then freedom. At 11:47 p.m., the group stepped out into the crisp May air. Downtown lights shimmered on wet pavement after a brief drizzle. Sophia opened her phone, ordering an Uber, while Meredith teased her about the number of photos she'd posted. The ride was confirmed. 5 women, full of laughter, waiting by the valet stand. Yet, in the next 5 minutes, the ride was canceled. No one saw them leave. No camera caught where they went. The restaurant's security footage ended with the image of Sophia glancing toward the street as if she'd recognized someone. Across town, Marcus sat in his penthouse overlooking the river, a glass of scotch untouched beside him. His phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. Heading home. Love you. The corners of his mouth curled faintly. To the world, it looked like devotion. To him, it meant control. The following morning, phones rang unanswered. Families called, texted, begged for replies. 5 women vanished into thin air. The Chicago police launched an investigation. Posters went up on every corner. The media named it the 5 Friends case. But weeks turned into months, and the story faded into the city's endless noise, just another mystery swallowed by concrete and silence. 2 years later, the sun rose over a construction site on Riverside Drive. The air was thick with dust and diesel as bulldozers tore into an old warehouse foundation. Roy Mendoza, a veteran machine operator, noticed something strange. The concrete here was newer, smoother, poured in the wrong place. When his excavator bit into it, the sound changed. Not rock, something else. He climbed down, wiping sweat from his brow, and spotted a flash of blue silk through the cracked slab fabric, still soft, untouched by time. His stomach dropped. No dress should have survived that long, not unless it had been sealed tight, buried deep. Roy froze, heart pounding, and reached for his radio. Within an hour, yellow tape cut across the site. Police cars lined the street. Detective Patricia Reeves stepped into the pit, crouching beside the exposed fragment. "This concrete's not even 3 years old," she murmured. A forensic tech brushed away dust. Beneath the silk, a human hand surfaced, small, pale, wearing a silver ring. Reeves straightened slowly, the sound of traffic fading to a low hum. She knew that ring. Every detective in Chicago did. The case that had haunted the city was no longer a mystery. It was a crime scene reborn. As the media descended and floodlights illuminated the pit, Reeves's phone buzzed with a call from the medical examiner. "Detective, we've got multiple remains down here. Looks like all 5. Reeves exhaled, eyes fixed on the broken concrete. Somewhere beneath her feet lay the answer to a question the city had stopped asking. But she also knew answers don't come without consequences. A faint glint of metal caught her eye inside the slab, something half buried beside the first body. She leaned closer, squinting under her flashlight. It wasn't debris. It was a torn scrap of fabric, fine blue cotton, stitched with 2 elegant letters, M.A., And in that instant, she realized this was only the beginning. The morning sun glared off the yellow crime scene tape as the Riverside Drive construction site turned into a storm of flashing lights and whispered disbelief. Chicago hadn't seen a discovery like this in years. 5 women, perfectly preserved beneath concrete, poured only 2 summers ago. For Detective Patricia Reeves, it wasn't just another case. It was the ghost that had stalked her every sleepless night since 2019. She stood at the edge of the excavation pit, hands on her hips, eyes hidden behind dark lenses. The air smelled of wet cement and diesel fumes. "Start cataloging every inch," she ordered the forensics team. "We treat this like an archaeological site, no mistakes." Down in the pit, a gloved hand brushed away the last layer of dust. The bodies were side by side. Dresses faded but recognizable, the same outfits from the women's final Instagram stories. 5 victims, the lead tech said quietly. All female, mid-20s. Time of death, about 2 years. Reeves's chest tightened. The 5 Friends case. She had spent months chasing it before politics shut it down. "They probably ran away," her old captain had said. No crime, no bodies, no funding. Now, the proof lay right in front of her, sealed in concrete. Reporters gathered behind the barriers, microphones ready, hungry for tragedy. "Detective Reeves, any comment on the victims?" someone shouted. She turned away. There were no statements yet, not until she saw the faces. Hours later, under the glare of floodlights, the medical examiner's team lifted the first body from the pit. A thin hand clutched something tightly. Reeves crouched beside the examiner. "Careful," she whispered. The glove loosened. A small piece of blue cloth fell into the evidence tray, expensive Oxford fabric, embroidered with 2 letters in silver thread. "M.A., the tech read aloud. "Initials, maybe?" Reeves froze. She knew those letters. 2 years ago, the boyfriend of one of the victims had worn shirts like that. Marcus Ashford, the real estate golden boy who'd cried on national TV, offering a $500,000 reward for information about his missing girlfriend, Sophia Taylor. Her stomach turned. Could grief be that well rehearsed? That evening, in the cold glow of the temporary morgue tent, the victims were laid out side by side. Reeves watched silently as identification tags were placed. Sophia Taylor, Chloe Ramirez, Meredith Brooks, Jenna Lewis, Laurel Nguyen. 5 names that had haunted Chicago's headlines and her own conscience. "Detective," said a young officer approaching cautiously, "we found a wallet in one of the purses. The driver's license is still legible." He handed her a clear evidence bag. Reeves squinted under the fluorescent light. Chloe Ramirez. The name hit her like a punch. She remembered Chloe's sister, Dr. Danielle Ramirez, the ER physician who'd begged to stay involved when the investigation went cold. Reeves had promised to call her if there was ever news. Now, that promise burned in her memory. Outside, the crowd of reporters had grown. News choppers hovered overhead, their blades chopping the evening air. Reeves ignored them, pulling out her phone. Her reflection in the screen looked older than she remembered. She dialed a number she hadn't called in 2 years. "Dr. Ramirez?" Her voice softened as soon as she heard the weary hello on the other end. "This is Detective Reeves. I'm afraid I have some news about your sister." A long silence. Then a breath, sharp and small, like the world collapsing in a single heartbeat. "Where?" Danielle's voice cracked. "Riverside Drive," Reeves answered quietly. "A construction site. We found 5 women. I need you to come." By the time the call ended, Reeves felt the weight of what she had just set in motion. Truth was coming heavy and merciless. As she looked back toward the pit, one of the forensic techs called out, "Detective, you might want to see this." She hurried down, boots sinking into the soft dirt. The tech pointed toward the cracked edge of the slab where something metallic glimmered under the light. Reeves knelt, brushing it free. A shattered cell phone. The screen spidered, but when she tilted it, the faint outline of a wallpaper photo still flickered, 5 young women smiling, arms wrapped around one another. Reeves felt a chill climb her spine. The phone was face up, as if someone had tried to reach the surface. "Get this to the lab immediately," she said, voice trembling with control. "And keep digging. If this is what I think it is, we're about to wake up ghost Chicago buried long ago." As she climbed out of the pit, The city lights stretched across the river, glittering, indifferent, while deep beneath them, the truth waited, cold and patient. And miles away, a man in a glass penthouse poured himself another drink, staring at the news alert glowing on his TV screen. A faint smile crossed his lips. Finally, Marcus whispered, they found her. The phone call came just after dawn. Dr. Danielle Ramirez was finishing a night shift at Northwestern Memorial when her cell buzzed, vibrating against the stainless counter. The name, Detective Patricia Reeves, froze her mid-motion. For 2 years, Danielle had imagined this call 100 different ways. None of them felt like this. Dr. Ramirez, Reeves said softly, we've recovered remains that match your sister's description. Danielle's world narrowed to a ringing silence. Her mind tried to form questions. How? Where? Why now? But only one word escaped. Chloe. I'm afraid so, Reeves replied. I'll need you at the medical examiner's office. When she hung up, the hum of hospital life returned: monitors, footsteps, a nurse asking about lab results. Everything looked the same, yet nothing was. She took a deep breath, removed her ID badge, and whispered to herself, 2 years of searching, 2 years of hoping. It's over. By the time Danielle reached the examiner's building on West Harrison, the morning sky was the color of steel. The air smelled faintly of rain and bleach. Detective Reeves waited by the entrance, her expression weary but kind. I'm sorry for calling you like this, Reeves said. You promised you would, Danielle answered. Inside, the corridors were cold, humming with fluorescent lights. Reeves led her to a small viewing room, just glass and silence. On the other side lay 5 covered forms. You don't have to look, Reeves offered. I do, Danielle said, her voice steady from years of medical discipline. The sheet folded back slowly. Silver earrings glinted, her 21st birthday gift to Chloe. The face was changed by time, yet undeniably hers. That's my sister, Reeves nodded, signaling the examiner to cover the body again. She was holding something, the detective said. A piece of fabric. We found embroidery MA. Does that mean anything to you? Danielle stared at the evidence bag. Blue cotton. Fine thread. Her pulse quickened. No, she said automatically, but the lie echoed in her chest. She remembered Easter dinner, Marcus Ashford showing off his monogrammed Oxford shirts MA stitched in silver. The same Marcus who had smiled on TV, crying for his missing girlfriend. That evening, Danielle drove back to her mother's house in Riverside. The roses in the garden were dead. Carmen Ramirez hadn't touched them since Chloe disappeared. Inside, family photos crowded the walls, birthdays, graduations, vacations frozen in happier years. Carmen sat at the kitchen table surrounded by candles and old flyers from the search. They said they found her, her mother whispered. Danielle took her hands. She's coming home, Mama, but we'll bring her peace first. Later that night, unable to sleep, Danielle entered Chloe's room. It looked untouched, bed unmade, clothes still hanging from the chair, perfume lingering faintly in the air. She opened the laptop on the desk. The password was still their childhood dog's name. 3 browser tabs blinked open. Instagram, Gmail, Uber. The Uber receipt from the 18th of May 2019 showed a canceled ride at 11:50, 2 p.m. 5 minutes after they left Paradisa. Danielle's hands trembled as she scrolled through the group chat labeled Ride or Dies. The last message. Meredith, getting the check. Be out in 5. Nothing after that. A soft buzz broke the silence. An incoming text from an unknown number. Is this Danielle Ramirez? She hesitated. Yes. Who is this? Tyler Morrison. I was Meredith's boyfriend. I heard they found them. I need to talk. Danielle stared at the screen, heart hammering. After 2 years, the ghosts of that night were suddenly speaking again. Outside, thunder rolled over Chicago. In the flash of lightning, her laptop screen reflected her own face, haunted, determined. She typed back, "Tell me everything you know." And as she hit send, a single thought echoed in her mind. If Marcus Ashford lied about one thing, what else has he buried? The cursor blinked on Chloe's old laptop like a heartbeat, steady, and relentless. Danielle's eyes burned from hours of scrolling messages, photos, fragments of conversations frozen in time. Every click felt like peeling away another layer of her sister's life. At 2:14 a.m., she found a folder labeled the 18th of May 2019. Inside were screenshots of group messages between Sophia, Meredith, Jenna, Laurel, and Chloe. One line made her blood run cold. Sophia, if anything feels wrong tonight, don't panic. Just stay together. The next morning, Danielle met Detective Reeves at the precinct, dark circles under her eyes. Reeves listened silently as Danielle spread printed screenshots across the table. They knew something might happen, Danielle said. Sophia was scared. Reeves studied the messages. Scared of who? Danielle hesitated. Marcus Ashford. Reeves leaned back, her jaw tightening. That's not new. We always suspected him. But suspicion isn't proof. Danielle reached into her bag and pulled out a photo, a still from Jenna's final Instagram story. Look, she said, pointing at the blurred car in the background. Black BMW. Same model Marcus owns. Reeves squinted. That's not conclusive. But he told the police his car was parked in his building's garage that night, Danielle replied. He lied. The detective's phone buzzed. A forensic tech had finished analyzing the victim's phones. Reeves put it on speaker. All 5 phones stopped transmitting at 12:23 a.m., the tech reported. Within 60 seconds of each other. Either they were destroyed or dumped in a dead zone metal, water, something that kills signal. Danielle's voice dropped to a whisper. Like being sealed inside concrete. That sentence hung in the air like thunder. Reeves exhaled slowly. We're reopening this case officially. And we're bringing Marcus in for questioning. 2 hours later, Marcus Ashford arrived at the station. Crisp suit, perfect composure, eyes the color of polished steel. He looked more like a man headed to a press conference than a suspect. I can't imagine what you're going through, he told Danielle smoothly. You've been through so much loss. So have I. Danielle's hands clenched beneath the table. Then help us. Tell us where they were that night. I've told the truth 100 times, he said calmly. I was home. You've seen the footage. Reeves leaned forward. There's a gap in your cell data. From 11:15 p.m. to 2:47 a.m., your phone was off or in airplane mode. Why? Marcus smiled faintly. I needed sleep. I had a 6 a.m. meeting with Tokyo. You're always online, Danielle said, unable to stop herself. You never turn it off. Sophia complained about it. Except that one night. Marcus's eyes flicked toward her, cold and sharp. Grief does strange things to memory, Doctor. Reeves slid a photo across the table, the scrap of blue Oxford cloth. Recognize this? His gaze lingered a second too long. No, he said evenly. But the muscle in his jaw twitched. When the interview ended, Marcus stood, smoothed his jacket, and said quietly to Danielle, You're making a mistake. Some things should stay buried. Then he walked out into the hallway, his bodyguards waiting. That night, as rain lashed the windows of her apartment, Danielle sat alone replaying his words. Some things should stay buried. Her phone buzzed again, a new message from an unknown number. Stop. Last warning. She froze, staring at the text, her reflection faint in the glass. Lightning flared outside, and for a heartbeat, she could have sworn she saw a silhouette watching from across the street. Her pulse hammered. She called Reeves, whispering, He's not just hiding, Patricia. He's hunting. The line crackled. Lock your doors, Reeves said. I'm on my way. Danielle stood in the darkened kitchen, phone in hand, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Then came the sound, faint but real. A floorboard creaking near the hallway. She turned, heart in her throat, whispering into the phone, Patricia, someone's in the house. And then the line went dead. The silence inside the apartment was suffocating. Danielle's breath came in shallow gasps as she backed toward the kitchen counter, gripping her phone like a weapon. The rain outside masked everything: footsteps, whispers, the faint hum of danger that felt closer with each passing second. Patricia, she whispered again into the deadline, praying the detective would call back. Nothing, only static. A shadow moved down the hall. Danielle's pulse roared in her ears. She reached for the nearest thing she could find, a metal flashlight, and raised it like a club. "Who's there?" Her voice cracked, but it echoed through the apartment anyway. The figure stepped into view. A woman, soaked, trembling, eyes wide with fear. "Don't scream," she whispered. I'm Kate Ashford." For a moment, Danielle couldn't move. "Marcus's sister?" Kate nodded quickly, glancing behind her as if she'd been followed. "I didn't know where else to go. He knows you're getting close." Danielle lowered the flashlight slightly but didn't relax. "You broke into my home to tell me that?" Kate's voice shook. "He killed them, Dr. Ramirez. All of them. I've known for years what he's capable of, and I have proof." That word proof made Danielle freeze. What kind of proof? Kate reached into her soaked coat and pulled out a small flash drive. "Security footage. The night he came to my apartment, covered in dirt. He said he'd been helping a friend pour concrete, but it was 3 a.m. I didn't believe him. I checked the building's cameras. You can see him dust, blood, panic. He never knew I kept a copy." Danielle stared at her, heartbeat thundering. "Why now?" "Because I can't live with it anymore," Kate said, tears mixing with rain. "He has a room in our parents' house, a hidden one. Behind a false wall in the basement, he keeps trophies." The words landed like a stone in Danielle's chest. Trophies? Jewelry, clothes, photos, even videos of them. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The refrigerator hummed, the rain whispered against the windows, and the truth settled like cold air between them. Danielle swallowed hard. "Then we go to the police." "Now." Kate shook her head. "No. Walsh will bury it. He's been protecting our family for years. You need someone higher federal." Danielle thought fast. "I know someone. FBI agent Rachel Monroe. We went to med school together before she switched careers. She owes me." The two women left the apartment together, their shadows flickering across the rain-slicked streetlights. By morning, they were sitting inside a small federal office west of downtown, across from Special Agent Monroe, a woman with steady eyes and the calm of someone used to walking through storms. Danielle handed her the flash drive. Within minutes, the footage was playing. Marcus entering Kate's building, hands dirty, shirt torn, face pale and wild. Timestamp: 3:04 a.m., the 19th of May, 2019. Monroe looked up. "This is enough for a warrant, but we'll need Kate's testimony and full cooperation." Kate nodded shakily. "Whatever it takes." By noon, an FBI convoy rolled up the long drive of the Ashford estate in Winnetka stone walls, iron gates, manicured lies. Agents spread through the property, flashlights cutting through the darkness of the basement. Then came the shout from below. "We've got something." Monroe and Danielle rushed down the steps. An agent had pulled away a false panel behind the wine racks, revealing a narrow doorway. Inside was a hidden room, lined with photographs, dozens of women, arranged like a grotesque gallery. Jewelry in glass boxes. Dresses hung neatly in rows. Danielle's breath caught. On one shelf sat Chloe's silver earrings. Next to them, Sophia's emerald necklace. "Oh my God," Kate whispered, covering her mouth. And on a desk in the corner, a laptop still open, the screen faintly glowing. The file name read, May 18. Final. Monroe's gloved hand moved toward the keyboard. "Don't touch it yet," she said, voice low, eyes narrowing. "If this is what I think it is." She clicked play. The first frame flickered to life. 5 women in the back of a black BMW, laughing softly, the city lights flashing through the windows. Danielle's heart stopped. "This isn't just evidence," Monroe said quietly. "This is a confession." And in that moment, far from the flashing lights of the estate, a phone buzzed on a marble counter. Marcus Ashford glanced at the caller ID Kate. He smiled. Then he answered. "Tell me, little sister," he said softly, "are you finally ready to betray family?" Kate didn't answer at first. Her hand trembled around the phone, eyes locked on the glowing screen in the FBI office. Agent Monroe mouthed, "Keep him talking." Her throat felt dry. "Marcus," she whispered, "it's over." A low chuckle came through the line. "You always were dramatic." "Over? You have no idea what that word means." Danielle leaned closer, listening. Her skin crawled, hearing his voice calm, polite, poisonous. "You killed them," Kate said, her voice shaking but louder now. "Sophia, Chloe, all of them. I saw what you did." Marcus sighed like a teacher scolding a child. "You were supposed to stay quiet. But I see you've been keeping secrets again. Be careful, Katie. Secrets can get people hurt." Monroe signaled to her tech team to trace the call. The agent mouthed, "1 minute. Keep him on." Kate gripped the phone tighter. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." "Oh, you should be," Marcus said softly. "Because you've forgotten one thing. I don't lose." The line went dead. Monroe cursed under her breath. "Trace Ping near Lake Forest. That's one of his family's warehouses." Within 30 minutes, an FBI team and local units converged on the property, a massive steel structure, surrounded by pine trees and mud. The doors were locked from the outside. Inside, the air was thick with gasoline and rot. "Move!" Monroe shouted as agents stormed in, flashlights slicing through the dark. They found blood on the floor, a chair tipped over, a broken glass, and near the corner, Kate's torn jacket. "Danielle!" Monroe called out. "He's taken her." Danielle's mind spun. Marcus had always been a step ahead, playing a game only he understood. Now he was cornered and desperate. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Monroe turned to her. "He won't run. He's too arrogant. He'll try to finish what he started." Danielle nodded, her hands trembling but steady in purpose. "Then let's end it before he does." An agent's radio crackled a new signal picked up from the GPS tag in Kate's phone. "Got him," heading south toward the old Brennan construction site. Danielle's eyes widened. Riverside Drive, where it had all begun. The convoy roared down the slick highway, sirens wailing against the storm. Danielle stared out the window, the city lights flickering like ghosts in the rain. Somewhere out there, Marcus was driving toward the place he thought was his masterpiece, his graveyard of control. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid to meet him there. Because tonight, the hunter was about to face the ghosts he'd buried. The storm had swallowed Chicago whole. Sheets of rain hammered against the asphalt as the FBI convoy tore down Riverside Drive, tires hissing through the floodwater. Red and blue lights flashed against the slick concrete walls, the same place where 5 women had once vanished, where their laughter had turned into silence. Danielle sat in the back seat, heart pounding, fingers white around the seatbelt. Every bump of the road felt like a heartbeat. "This is it," she told herself. "This is where it ends." Agent Monroe's voice came through the radio. "Units in position. Warehouse perimeter secure. Suspect possibly armed." When the vehicle skidded to a stop, Danielle jumped out before anyone could stop her. The old Brennan construction site stood ahead, half demolished, a skeleton of rust and shadow. Floodlights cut through the rain, illuminating the chain-link fence that once sealed in Marcus's secrets. "Dr. Ramirez, stay behind the line," Monroe ordered. "I can't," Danielle shot back. "He has her." From inside the warehouse came a faint echo metal dragging against concrete. Then a voice, calm and unmistakably male, drifted out into the rain. "Danielle," Marcus called. "You made good time." The agents froze. Danielle's stomach dropped. She stepped closer, squinting into the darkness. "Where's Kate?" she shouted. A single light flickered on inside the warehouse. Kate sat on the ground, bound but conscious, her face pale and wet from tears. Marcus stood behind her, gun in hand, his hair slicked back and shirt clinging to his frame. He looked almost peaceful, like a man welcoming an ending he'd already written. "You should have left it alone," he said softly. "They were never supposed to be found." Danielle's voice cracked. "You murdered them. My sister, your girlfriend. Your friends for what? Control?" Marcus tilted his head, smiling faintly. "Control is love, Doctor. It's the only kind that lasts." Monroe signaled to her team, moving around the perimeter. Danielle took a small step forward, rain soaking through her jacket. "She tried to help Sophia leave you," Danielle said, nodding toward Kate. "And that's why you can't let her live." Marcus's expression hardened. "You don't understand. Sophia was everything. She made me feel seen. And then she wanted to walk away like I was nothing." Danielle's voice steadied, her tone cutting through the storm. That's not love, Marcus. That's fear. You kill what you can't control because it reminds you how small you really are. For a moment, something flickered behind his eyes. Rage, pain, recognition. Then the smile returned, colder than ever. You think you're safe because you brought an army, he said, raising the gun. But power doesn't come from numbers. It comes from who's willing to pull the trigger first. A flash, a shot cracked through the night. Danielle ducked instinctively. But Marcus wasn't aiming at her. He fired toward the floor, shattering a fuel canister. Gasoline poured across the concrete. Marcus, Kate screamed. Don't. He turned to her, voice softening. You were supposed to stay my secret. Before he could raise the gun again, a bullet ripped through the air Monroe's shot. Marcus staggered, dropping to one knee, the weapon clattering beside him. Agents swarmed the room, shouting commands. But Marcus wasn't done. His bloodied hand reached for a lighter from his pocket. If I can't bury my truth, he hissed, then I'll burn it. He flicked it once, a spark ignited the gasoline. Flames roared to life, curling up the walls, devouring the air. Get them out, Monroe shouted. Agents grabbed Kate and Danielle, dragging them toward the exit as smoke poured around them. Danielle coughed, eyes stinging, but she looked back one last time. Through the heat haze, she saw Marcus crawling toward the center of the room, toward the spot where the 5 bodies had been found, as if trying to rejoin them. The roof groaned. Then, with a deafening crash, the old structure gave way, burying him in flame and debris. Outside, rain met fire in a violent hiss. Danielle collapsed onto the mud, coughing, her face streaked with soot and tears. Monroe knelt beside her. It's over, she said, voice hoarse. But Danielle shook her head. It'll never really be over. The next morning, smoke still curled over Riverside Drive. Fire crews sifted through the wreckage, finding the charred remnants of Marcus Ashford's world, the man who built his own grave from concrete and lies. Weeks later, under a soft spring sky, 5 new headstones gleamed side by side in Oakwood Cemetery. Sophia Taylor, Chloe Ramirez, Meredith Brooks, Jenna Lewis, Laurel Newen. In the center stood a plaque that read, 5 friends, 5 lights, forever bright. Danielle knelt beside Chloe's grave, laying yellow roses, her sister's favorite. You're free now, she whispered. All of you are. Behind her, Agent Monroe approached, hands in her coat pockets. The investigation's closed, she said. The Ashford estate's being liquidated. The funds are going to domestic violence programs. Danielle nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Then something good came from all this. Monroe smiled faintly. You gave them peace. That's more than justice, that's grace. As the wind rustled through the trees, Danielle looked out across the quiet cemetery. For the first time in years, the city felt still. But deep inside, she knew what the concrete had whispered from the start. The dead don't stay silent forever. And somewhere beneath the ashes of Riverside Drive, the truth that had once been buried was finally, irrevocably free. The story of 5 lights on Riverside Drive is more than a crime drama. It's a mirror held up to the darker corners of love, power, and silence. Beneath the suspense and tragedy lies a reflection of how easily control can disguise itself as affection, and how society often overlooks the quiet red flags until it's too late. It reminds us that evil rarely wears a stranger's face. It hides behind charm, success, and familiarity. Yet, amid that darkness, the story also offers redemption through courage, through the persistence of those who refuse to stop asking questions. Danielle's fight for truth honors every voice that was dismissed, every woman whose story was buried under concrete and fear. The narrative reminds us that justice is not instant, but it is possible when compassion turns into action. It speaks to the resilience of love that protects rather than possesses, and to friendship that endures beyond death. In the end, the story's greatest value lies in its warning and its hope, that even when the world is cracked open by violence, truth will rise, and light, no matter how faint, will always find a way through the concrete.